Welcome to Next Up Accessories, where we connect your next up in vehicle personalization to make you more money and happier customers. What is vehicle personalization? It's a proven method to present vehicle customization to your customers that will increase your paycheck, give your customers the car they want, and skyrocket your CSI. According to our friend and successful professional, Eric Gonzalez, if your car sale doesn't touch every part of your dealership, well, man, you aren't doing your job. So get to every part of the dealership, and vehicle personalization is the key to making that happen. If you want to learn more about vehicle personalization and bring accessories into every car deal, then this is the podcast for you. For more about vehicle personalization, visit our website at insigniagroup.com. If you are an Insignia Group customer, we really thank you for your business. Remember to check out our blogs, lots of best practice tips there. And make sure you subscribe so you stay up to date. Or talk to us on social media. We've got lots of people that love to chat on social media. We want to thank Side Hustle for the use of their song, Work With What You Got, seems appropriate. You can find them at sidehustletheband.com. Now, let's dive into our newest show. So, Allie is now running the show, and so we're so happy to have her running the tech of the show. And we have, Cameron has moved on, and we continue to wish him well. And so, Allie, great job so far. We're all told that if we have perseverance in a job, we can go far. Many of us dream of moving higher and higher up that corporate ladder. Sometimes moving your way to the top takes a little bit of risk and the ability to see some trends ahead of you. We don't have to be an Elon Musk to make big moves. And this guy that we're going to talk to today is walking proof that working hard and changing with the times can get you very far in the automotive industry. This is a real life story about working hard and moving up in the automotive industry ladder. It is my pleasure to welcome Ian Grohs, parts manager at Classic Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Pineville, North Carolina. Ian has led a double life for the last 10 years as he is an Army reservist, and I will thank him for his service, while working his way through the automotive industry. He started as a warehouse driver and then worked his way into being a parts manager at the Chrysler Dodge Jeep store that he's at right now. He's assisted in launching several accessory departments in-store and online, and has driven gross profits up by an average of 51% over the past 2 years in his current store. We are excited to have Ian on with us today to talk about how you can go from the warehouse all the way to the parts department and in the parts manager position. So let's bring Ian on. Allie, bring Ian on. There he is. Ian, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It is absolutely a pleasure to have you, and thank you for your service to our country. We really appreciate that. Now, let's just start right there. What do you do in the Army Reserves?
Well, I got out in November.
So you don't do anything?
Yeah, nothing anymore. But I was a biological warfare specialist.
A what?
Chemical biological warfare specialist.
That sounds terrifying.
If you have to run into it, it's nothing you want to deal with. But in practice, it largely has to do with maintaining chemical equipment and readiness posture and things like that. So
you're ready for the zombies?
I'm prepared.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, you have been in the Insignia circle for many, many years, and we've watched you grow from where we were introduced to you as an accessory manager at another store, and now you've progressed. So let's kind of roll back and let's tell everybody, kind of how you went through those steps. And first off, how did you get from the warehouse to being an accessory manager?
Well, I took the job initially in 2010 at 18 years old as a parts puller and truck driver for Mr. Paul Allred at State Line Chrysler, part of the same automotive group I'm still a part of, Mills Auto Group. It was just another job to me. I worked at Harris Teeter during high school and grew to want something else. But, after a little bit of time with it, I saw that there was a lot of career potential in the automotive industry. And as a natural car guy, I liked what I was doing and I liked being in the industry. So I stuck with it.
So when you say you're a natural car guy, tell me what that means. Trucks, sports cars, muscle cars. What does that mean to you?
All of it. anything that moves, goes fast, tractors, anything. Just it all gets my blood going.
So you are a ready-made aftermarket or a ready-made accessories manager. So that's awesome. So tell me about how you became the accessory manager there with Paul, and you guys set up a whole department there. So tell us a little bit about that.
So, after progressing through the warehouse, I eventually landed on the parts counter, which was a great way to learn that side of the job. After a little bit of time, Paul and I started discussing the idea of selling more accessories. He found your company and kind of went over the process with me. We were both on board. We got our GM on board, and in mid 2014, I think June of 2014, we launched using an office that wasn't being used in our showroom. And there was a lot of learning that had to be done and a lot of fine tuning, but it didn't take long for us to start to make some really good money with minimal investment using your program.
Yeah, so I remember that. So this was the classic room that dealerships have where the sales department congregates. They're supposed to be doing their online vehicle training, but what happens is it becomes a catch-all room and a hideout room. And so I remember, when you guys started tearing apart that room, there's all these little cubicles in there. And so tell us about I think you called it the speed shops. Tell us about the sort of the development of having that speed shop as an actual location in your store.
So you're right. That room was the kind of catch-all hanging out room for the salespeople. Was a former BDC before they got moved into a bigger room, and eventually, when I took it over, we remodeled it, repainted it, made it attractive. We did refer to it as a speed shop. They still do over there. We ended up hanging up some displays, neon signs. We set up a really nice big monitor for the customers to see the program, some nice comfortable chairs, and just kind of made it a really welcoming environment for kind of presenting the what they could do to their vehicle to them.
Mm-hmm. And so then the process was what? They go through the car sale process, and then they were supposed to bring them into the speed shop room, correct?
Yes. So my time was the time in between signing the buyer's order and finance.
Mm-hmm.
The process, as it was written, was supposed to be that the salesperson brought the customer to me, gave me an introduction, and I added them to the system and just kind of chatted with them for the most part. It was a really soft sell kind of thing. Talked to them about how they use their vehicle, pointed them in some directions that may interest them, and it proved to be pretty effective. Now, in practice, salespeople didn't always bring them to you. You had to chase them down a good bit. But I'm hoping in this new endeavor we're launching that we can overcome that.
Yeah. So what kinds of things did you see most customers doing there in the speed shop? So you guys sold a lot of Ram trucks, you sold a lot of Jeeps, sold a lot of performance cars. What was the most common things that you were doing to vehicles?
I would say Ram and Jeep are definitely your money makers at an FCA store. There's potential with Dodge with the muscle cars, but a lot of the vehicles come so souped up from the factory that Chrysler just doesn't offer a lot for them. Mm-hmm. Ram and Jeep, the Jeep buyers, one of the biggest targets, of course, or not targets, I guess is the wrong word, but the most productive customers. A lot of them are interested in lift kits, the full package, wheels, tires, running boards. I had people who would spend up to $20,000 in one shot on their new Wrangler purchase. By volume, though, I'd have to say trucks are even bigger money for the dealer. I don't remember what study it was, but at one point I'd read that the average truck buyer spends about $2,100 on accessories in the first 6 months of ownership.
Yep.
And us being there ready to capitalize on that, we probably averaged $1,000 to $1,500 per new truck sold, and mostly in running boards, tonneau covers, bed liners, things like that.
Yeah. Now, being an accessory manager, let's really explain to our audience, for those that don't really know what the purpose of having an accessory manager is, What was your number one job? And then sort of from there, how would you describe being an accessory manager?
So as an accessory manager, you're at a nexus point between sales, service, and parts. You kind of have to play all sides and keep the considerations of every department in mind. At times it can feel like walking on eggshells and it can be tricky, but if you're doing your job right, you're presenting things to the customer that they likely already wanted and budgeted for, and capitalizing on that rather than letting it go to the aftermarket. You're also providing a source of on the sales floor. You serve as an on the sales floor product knowledge expert for the sales team, which with time proved to be very valuable. A lot of technical questions that Jeep and truck owners, for example, may have that salespeople can't answer, they could come to me and I could answer them. And then for parts and service, it was just easy revenue generation. On the service side, you're installing things with no diagnosis that just bolt on. It's easy money for the techs, the service advisors, the service managers, and the same for parts. There's not a lot of guesswork. It's just good, easy money.
So if I were a brand new accessory manager, never really held the post before, I'm a car enthusiast like you, I've got it, and I have some, experience in the store, what would you tell me, what would you get, having been there, what advice would you give me as I start my journey on it as an accessory manager?
First, keep in mind that you need to be an ally to all departments. You're all on the same team, and you need to keep everyone's needs in mind. The second thing I would say is to take ownership of everything you sell from start to finish. And it may be different at different stores with different processes, but in my experience, things went the smoothest when I kept my hands on it from the sale all the way through the installation and redelivering the vehicle. You're the one who talked to the customer, who knows how they want it. This is their new car, so they are expecting perfection generally.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to baby the vehicle from start to finish. It can be time consuming, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah. My dad uses a word that we love to hear him use in these kinds of situations, pristine. He uses the word pristine, and he refers to like brand new things as pristine and untouched and unsoiled and unsullied, so your car buyer, your Jeep buyer who's buying that lifted wheels and tires, maybe some lights, maybe running boards, maybe all kinds of chrome on there, they want to see that vehicle given to them in pristine condition. So that's great advice to take ownership of that delivery all the way to delivering that pristine vehicle. That's great.
And I was just going to add a piece of advice.
Yeah.
I learned pretty quickly that we needed to adopt a walk around process, just like service with the new vehicles. Anyone who's been around a lot knows that there's lot damage.
Yeah.
Like you said, the customer's still expecting it to be pristine. So if you don't note everything and do that walk around with the customer prior to you taking custody of the vehicle, any lot damage becomes your problem.
That's right.
We learned that the hard way pretty quickly.
That's right. Excellent. So what kinds of things did you do to endear the sales department to you, to be a resource? I mean, you said you needed to be an ally to them. What are some of the techniques that you did to bring salespeople in to say, okay, Ian's a good guy, I'm going to go to him next time?
First and foremost, just the most basic thing, be present and be pleasant and easy to work with. If they ask you a question, get them an answer, even if it takes some research. If they ask you for a quote, get it to them quickly with all the relevant information. Essentially, treat your salespeople just like you would treat a good customer of yours. I was often present throughout the sales process for those technical questions I mentioned. And that is a lot of what really endeared me. Over time, after say, 8 months to a year of doing this and gaining some experience, our accessories department even started to draw customers from other dealers because of the total experience that we could offer with the knowledge base we'd built, our ability to do what they wanted to the vehicle. If I'd had the foresight back then to make notes, I would be able to tell you how many customers I brought in, but unfortunately I can't.
Well, that is a clear distinction of the pinnacle that you're trying to achieve in that environment, which is bringing people in from other, conquesting other customers from the competition because of the experience that you are providing. That's great stuff, and excellent, really, really great advice that you passed on to accessory managers. So let's shift gears a little bit. And one of the notes that you gave us prior to the show here is that you actually helped start up several online e-commerce initiatives through either State Line or where you're at now. So talk about the differences there between being that accessory manager on point in the store versus the challenges of e-commerce and creating that space that you did. So give me the differences between that.
Certainly. It's a very different world. I had, after doing the accessories, I had transitioned to our wholesale team for a few years. I'm sure you're aware State Line has a massive wholesale parts department.
Yep.
But State Line is their parts department's a big beast. They're kind of near the apotheosis of what a parts department can be, and as such, they're always looking for new streams of revenue. Online sales was something we weren't really doing, so once again, Paul approached me with the idea. A peer of his was doing pretty well online, and we linked up with Revolution Parts, a major provider. Mm-hmm. For online sales platforms, and we got started in October of 2018. Revolution provided us the ability to have a standalone website, an eBay store, an Amazon store, and a store embedded within our dealer website, all of which processed transactions, shipments. They ran live off of our actual inventory. The platform was excellent. Within 3 to 4 months, we were doing about 40 to 50 grand a month in online sales.
Nice.
But I will also note that I learned a lot from doing it. Online sales are even more competitive than wholesale sales, and even lower margin, I will say. It's a great way to add sales, but I would caution dealers not to pursue that until they've exhausted their other avenues like wholesale, their shop, accessories, etc.
Interesting. Good. Excellent. That's great. Again, great information. Let's shift back to the store. And as you have transitioned now into being a parts manager, I think that's one of the stories that we tell to dealerships about, hey, the accessory position is a great place to groom your next manager. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about how you were able to take that pivot and go for. I guess you applied and then you were accepted as a parts manager. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a good point. The accessories department is a great way to train someone or identify someone who may be good as a manager, because they do have to look at the whole store and how all the pieces of the store work together. It really helps to cultivate a viewpoint that makes you a better department lead, and it helps you work better with your other departments when you do become a manager. I was approached by our fixed ops director and offered a parts manager job at our Nissan store, which I did through 2019 up into 2020, early 2020. It was a smaller store, but it was a great learning opportunity for me. I couldn't have imagined transitioning to the management role in a better way than I did. And I do think that my role as accessories manager, what I did in wholesale, what I did in the warehouse, it all led to this and helped identify me as a good candidate for it.
Excellent. So now let's talk about how you now in your role, you're seeing these things that you did before as an accessory manager and the opportunities that present themselves to the dealership for vehicle personalization. How have you built the relationship with your general manager to allow you to continue to explore that? So it's one thing to be put in the hot seat of the parts manager. Now you got to perform. And so beyond just, rotating the inventory, which is your primary, goal. Now you're looking at building new channels, and that being vehicle personalization. So what kind of tips would you give other parts managers out there that want to do this, just not sure how to talk to their general manager?
So I think that if you can present, it should be easy to win your general manager over. If they do have their mindset on growing the whole store, then accessory sales are a no-brainer. It's revenue for every department. It improves survey scores, lines their GM's pockets. As long as you can articulate the benefits for the store to your GM, winning them over shouldn't be a problem.
Excellent. All right. So where do you see, sitting where you are, where do you see the industry going from here? We've got a lot of challenges. We're still in the midst of dealing with COVID. There's car sales happening over the phone, online, in the store. Kind of where are you seeing the trends as it relates to accessory sales, and how are you gonna deal with that to make sure your sales department and your general management is really going after that and changing with the times?
So I do see 2020 and the COVID pandemic kind of accelerating changes that were already happening in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
New technologies and processes like mobile check-in, contactless transactions, things like that are being adopted more quickly than I think they would have been naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Not that this is a bad thing. I think that this is a moment where dealers who are dynamic and ready for change can capitalize on, and they can leave their slower peers behind. As far as accessory sales go, it does create a bit of a conundrum, because part of the process has always been to get in front of that customer. Now that opportunity may not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think communication is going to be even more important between your BDC, your salesman, your sales manager, because you have to somehow get a time during an online transaction to speak to this customer. We haven't implemented anything yet, so I don't have any advice or tweaks to offer just yet. But this will be something that we're figuring out in the coming months, and kind of seeing where we need to go with it.
Yeah, what we see is the key to the next phase is really digital retailing. So, I'm sure you've selected a digital retailing platform. We see the same thing, that's really where things are going to start happening, and moving the accessory presentation into that space is really a focus for at least Insignia in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. As we continue to get our head around the transition that's happening. It does seem that there's been two really important transitions here. Transition one is just the customer. The customer is actually demanding or pursuing, looking for the vehicle before coming into the store, mm-hmm. because they have to. And then dealerships are reacting, and not reacting in a negative way, thankfully, but reacting in a very positive way and embracing it. So those two forces coming together is what really is creating this change. It's consumer preference and dealer adoption that's really, really pushing that forward. So in terms of, where vehicles are going, we're seeing a big, huge trend in more SUVs, the fewer and fewer cars. That seems to lend itself to have a lot more accessories as a big part. I mean, if most of the vehicles you're selling are SUVs and trucks, or light SUVs, talk to me about how you all in your dealer group are seeing the trend of vehicles and where that might go as it relates to not so much accessories, because I think accessories is a reaction to what's being sold in the marketplace, right? So are you guys thinking about the transitions of the different vehicles?
Well, we're in a kind of a unique position at with FCA, which is where most of my experience lies, and that aside from Charger, Challenger, and 300, we've effectively been a truck and SUV brand for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that we're seeing a huge transition here as it relates to SUVs kind of displacing sedans. The other thing with our brands too is we've always been kind of an active lifestyle brand as well. So the shift, especially with indoor events and indoor venues being closed, the shift towards people spending more time outside, that also lends itself well to us. But it's not new to us. This is kind of what we've been about for years.
Right. Right.
I think other brands, as they see more SUV sales, I think they're just going to have to kind of probe their customers as they go to kind of figure out how the customer type is changing. I think the only way to do this is on the floor talking to the customer, or online, or on the phone in this case these days. But I think it's just going to be something that you have to kind of learn as you go and see how your brand changes.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. So what would you say is your biggest challenge as parts manager 2021? What do you see your biggest challenge is in your, store, your state, your current position? What's your focus on 2021?
So I've got a lot of big plans. We're relaunching Insignia this coming month, full scale. Where we've been growing our wholesale. Our shop's been growing like crazy. It's all coming together fairly nicely, but I think the biggest challenge for us and everyone else going forward in the next year is still going to be COVID, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Staying safe, keeping your customers safe, trying to keep people at work. You end up with a slew of people quarantined, and it can really dampen your entire operation for 2 weeks, 4 weeks. It's a really big hurdle. I think that's going to continue to be the biggest challenge in moving forward with all these plans that we have.
Excellent. Ian, this has been great. The timing is really great for this particular show. Last big question, what do you drive?
I drive a 2018 Nissan Titan that I bought during my time at the Nissan store. So I have.
Man, are you getting all kinds of pressure from the showroom to trade that thing in?
A little bit, but I'm happy with it. It's been a good truck so far.
Excellent. Any fun accessories on it?
I do have a few things. Mostly practical. I have tow package. I've got a boat and a camper, so I've got to tow quite a bit.
Very nice.
Toolbox, running boards, a lot of practical stuff. I'd say probably the most frivolous thing I've put on it is I've got a big steel bumper on it. I actually got into a little bit of a wreck last year, and the factory bumper was on back order due to supply shortages. And rather than drive with no bumper for however long, I went with a big steel one and put some lights on it. And
fun.
It does the job. Planning some things in the future too, so we'll see where it goes.
Excellent. So your hobbies are getting out on the boat, doing the camping. Are those your main hobbies, or do you have other hobbies?
Anything outdoors: fish, hunt, boat, hike, explore. If it's outside, I'm there.
So you're the classic commercial that we always think about in vehicle personalization. There's your truck; it's all dirty. You're, you got the boat or the camper behind there. You got the fishing poles. You're living it, man. You are living the vehicle personalization model.
It works out well for the brands I work with. I identify very easily with a lot of our customers, and I think it's important. It does help you to be successful in it.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Ian, I really thank you again. Thank you for your service to the country as well as your story. It's a great story, very inspirational, and I really thank you for your all the great advice today. We need to make some really great quotes out of a lot of things that you said today. So for our podcast listeners, if you want to join the conversation, once we've premiered this video, feel free to comment in the post and we'll respond. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we might even tweet every now and then. So Ian, thank you again very much. Until next time, I'm David Stringer, and this has been Next Up Accessories, where we connect your next up and vehicle personalization to help you make more money and happier customers. Thanks for tuning in. Every deal, every day. Bye-bye.